Hi, Black Exoticals. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Black Exotical. Today, I want to talk to you about the importance of prioritizing allies over friendships and why you should not obsess over having friends, especially if you are in your 20s and up. The reason being is that while it is definitely beneficial to have friends in your life, and you should definitely value the quality of friends over the quantity of friends that you have, the reality is that in today's day and age, there is a decrease in character, values, and morals, which ultimately ends up translating in trauma experienced from broken friendships. Now, a lot of you can probably relate to this. Most of us have stories of being betrayed by friends or just having friends who didn't show up for you the way that they were supposed to show up for you. It can be traumatizing. Like, friendship breakups can be equally traumatizing, if not worse, than romantic breakups because a lot of times especially for women, we tend to prioritize friendships over anything else, over family, over relationships. Like a lot of women look for their friends' input on the type of person that they should date. They confide in their friends whenever they're going through things with their family or with their careers or their business. They pretty much tell their friends everything. Like their friend is the first point of contact before anyone else. They will tell things to their friends that they wouldn't ever think about telling their family. And as I said before, they're usually like the first step in confiding in someone when they have a new romantic interest. So when that friendship breaks up and that friendship ends, it can be really traumatizing for a lot of people. But as I've said before, there is an increase in the lack of morals and an increase just in the lack of quality of friendships. Like people these days really don't care about having good character. They only think about themselves, which is fine. Like you should prioritize yourself. But if you outwardly express to someone that you are their friend, there is sort of this unspoken rule that you should behave like a friend, that you should be there for your friend, be supportive, have their back and not stab them in the back. And unfortunately, we're seeing so many cases and instances of people being betrayed by those who they thought were their friends. And most recently, we all know the story of Shanquella Robinson. Last year, Shanquella Robinson went on a trip with a group of people who she thought were her friends. And unfortunately, it was revealed to the world that these people were, in fact, not her friends um, because they were responsible for her untimely passing. The most people have seen the video and have heard the story, and just the amount of rage and vitriol that these people had towards this innocent woman really let us all know that they were never her friend in the first place. And as a result, it is super important to be careful who you call a friend. It is super important to be mindful of friend and foe behavior so that you can keep yourself safe. Not everyone is your friend, and so therefore, not everyone deserves the title of friend. And most recently, most of you have probably heard the story of Destiny Hamilton, aka Natalia's World, who recently passed away, unfortunately, during her vacation in the Bahamas. And now I'm not going to get into the story surrounding what happened. There are a lot of theories and just opinions going around about what happened. The point that I'm trying to make surrounding Destiny is that she was recently laid to rest, and on social media, she was always pictured with a bunch of people, who she called her friends, and even one person in particular that she called her best friend. And when it came to actually sending her off, none of them were to be found. Not one of those friends were present. Only there was only one individual that actually showed up and supported, while everyone else kind of just didn't show up. And, it's a possibility that maybe the family limited the number of people at the funeral. That is a common practice that some people do when they want to have a private send off. Um, so there could be many reasons as to why the crowd was small. But these people also had a large social media presence, and they could have very easily done a tribute or some sort of heartfelt sentiment towards Destiny, if they truly were, in fact, her friend. And the fact that none of them spoke out except for this one individual says everything and confirms that none of these people were truly Destiny's friend. And if you're a person, especially if you're in high school or middle school or even university, college, whatever, and you've always kind of had issues making friends or fitting in, or you feel as if you've often been rejected, and you kind of look at everyone else around you constantly posting photos on social media with their friends, a lot of times those are not genuine friendships. Most people who have like multiple friends, honestly, it's just social gathering, or they're just socialites, or they just happen to run in the same social circles. But when it gets down to it and you get into the crux of the relationship, you will find out oftentimes that they're really just acquaintances. A lot of times, there's a lot of backstabbing behind the scenes, a lot of distrust, and they are just not your friends. So, this is just another reminder to not believe everything that you see on social media because it's just a facade. People will only post the highlights of their life and not the lowlights and the struggles that they go through on a day-to-day basis. Which brings me to my next point. You, especially on your level up journey, as a Black exotical, you should prioritize allyships over friendships. And an ally is pretty much someone who will work in your best interest. They will support you, they will have your back, they'll connect you and give you what you need. Um, and it's kind of like an understanding that they will look out for your best interests, particularly if it also serves their interests. But there's also this unspoken understanding that there are no other commitments required. And if you are looking to level up, it is important to have allies who can help open doors for you, especially doors that you particularly may not be able to enter on your own. So, a prime example of this is if you are a corporate girly, for example, and you're looking to level up, a lot of times you will need the help of higher ups to help move you along. And so that's why it's important to maintain healthy relationships with people at work, because ultimately these healthy relationships will translate into allyship. So, if there is a job posting that you're looking to go for in the future, first of all, having a good rapport at your company and having a good reputation is the foundation for any allyship. So that way, when you reach out to a manager, HR, whoever, and they look into you, they will see that you are a credible person and will be more likely to support you in achieving your goal, especially if this person is a stranger and you've never worked with them. Your credibility and your character is what is going to determine whether or not you have an ally. And if you're someone who doesn't have good work ethic and good character, you're going to have an extremely difficult time securing allies, especially if you've worked with that person because you've already set your reputation as being someone that's not trustworthy. So I just wanted to end off by just providing some signs that someone is not your friend and how you can go about dealing with each of these. As I've said before, as a Black exotical, you have to be especially careful with who you associate yourself with. And a lot of times, Black exoticals have to deal with jealousy, and this jealousy can often be dangerous if you're around certain types of people who are unhinged and who have failed to do the inner work and are pretty much desperate to try to tear others down who are doing well for themselves. So, the first sign that someone is not your friend is when they make snide remarks or jokes. So, say for example, you confided in your friend about something personal or something sensitive in your life. Maybe you have an insecurity with your teeth. Maybe you wanted to always get your teeth done, or you have an insecurity with the texture of your hair because maybe people in your community made you feel bad about your hair texture, and you disclose this to your friend, and then you later go to your friend and say, "Oh, I'm going on a date, I'm so excited, can you help me get ready?" An example of a snide remark in this case would be your friend saying, "Ooh, like that guy's not even gonna like you because you got buck teeth," or your hair's not even cute. Like, how are you going to do your hair? Pretty much making comments about your insecurity and then masking it as a joke. But ultimately, it's not a joke and it's intentional. Those comments were made to tear you down and make you feel bad. If you have a friend who does this even once, you need to get rid of that friend. Second sign that someone is not your friend is when they don't compliment you or applaud your work. And now you shouldn't go through life looking for compliments from everyone or fishing for compliments. You should be confident enough in yourself to know that, you're doing well. And if you're not, you should do the inner work so that you can be happy with yourself and not have to fish for compliments. But for the most part, let's say, for example, you get a promotion and you go out with friends or you tell a group of your friends, and then there's this one girl that kind of doesn't say anything, or everyone else is clapping and smiling and cheering you on, and she sits there with like a stoic look on her face. That is not your friend. Her true feelings toward you is showing up in her body language and her demeanor, and she's basically letting you know that she does not think that you're deserving of that achievement. I remember when I had a family member, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and she recently moved to my city, and she would hound me for months and say, I really want to see you, like, let's connect. And we finally connected months later, and she showed up to my house with another family member. And so she's a girl, of course, and then the other family member's male. So when he saw me, he was like, "Oh my gosh, Black Exotical, you look amazing. Like, wow, it's been a long time and you're looking so nice," and just boosting up my ego. And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, cuz, like, thanks, I appreciate that." And she just stood there and looked me up and down and didn't say anything. She was just super quiet. And then when she got home, she messaged me and was like, "Oh, I just wanted to congratulate you. Um, on your pregnancy. Like, congratulations. It was super dark and I couldn't really see, but I saw your little baby bump. Like, wow, I can't wait to see I can't wait to see the new addition to the family." And I called her out on that. I was like, "I'm not pregnant." And I was wearing like a baggy dress. Like, I was in the house, so I was wearing like a house dress. And it was windy that day as well, so the wind was blowing, and ultimately when it gets up underneath your maxi dress it can make it look ballooned. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, oops, my bad. It's just that you look so plump and round." And I knew when she made that comment that she was trying to be messy. I knew that she was trying to be messy because of the way that she looked at me. She did not look happy to see me, despite her begging to see me previously. And she also, it seemed as if she didn't like to hear our mutual family member kind of give me compliments. And so, what is often in the Caribbean, anyone who's of Caribbean descent, Caribbean women try to tear down other Caribbean women by telling them that they put on weight, even if they know good and well that they didn't. So I put that right back in her face and I said, "Oh, wow, it looks like both of us got plump and round. And I haven't heard from that girl in months." So don't sit back and allow people to make snide remarks and get away with it. Sometimes you have to pick your battles and walk away. It's not worth it. But sometimes you also need to nip it in the bud. Otherwise, that person, especially if they're your friend and they have close access to you, they're gonna try you again and just keep digging and digging and digging until you snap. Also, if that person only calls you when they need something, but then you reach out to them just to have a conversation, see how they're doing, and you get no response, or even more so, if you need something from them, but they're nowhere to be found, they are not your friend. They just have you in their life for their convenience and to use you for when they need something. Another sign that someone is not your friend is when they withhold information from you, but they expect you to share. So, for example, if you get around this person and, you know, just like with what friends typically do, like, update each other on just your life and what you're doing and your goals and whatnot, but they want you to like divulge like personal information or provide details. Like, let's say, for example, you were in a relationship with someone and they want to know intimate details about that relationship. But then when you turn around and say, "Oh, how about you? Like, how is your love life going?" And they're really tight lipped, or they're like, "Oh, nothing much," or they even tell you to mind your own business, that person is not your friend. They're just in competition with you and they just want to keep tabs on you. And sometimes people are like this because they just want to gather information so that they can use that information to benefit themselves later on. Sign that someone is not your friend is when it appears as if they're in competition with you. So, for example, again, like if you achieve something, let's say you just launched a business and you're going to have a celebration, or you talk about your achievements at work or in your relationship, and instead of your friend applauding you and saying, "Oh wow, congratulations, let's celebrate you, let's make this moment about you," they then proceed to talk about their achievements and what they're doing every time. Or they may even say, "Oh, that's not all that, or that's not that big of a deal. Last time, I was able to do this." So let's say, for example, you ran a 1K marathon and that was your first ever marathon. You trained for that and, you successfully achieved it. You were happy with your time. And they said, "Oh, that's not a big deal. One time I ran a 5K in less amount of time." Just unnecessarily wanting to one up you. That person is not your friend. They just see you as competition. Someone who is in competition with you can never be your friend because they want to beat you. They want to take your place rather than working in community with you or working as an ally so that you both can win. They want to, what they think, upstage you, and they want to be on top and they want you to never be above them. And a lot of times these are all just opinions that are in that person's head. Maybe they are doing better than you, or maybe there's something about them that you admire and they're just not satisfied. They look at you and they see one aspect of your life, which is another reason why you should never diminish yourself, because you never know how someone perceives you and what qualities and attributes they see and successes they see in you that you may not see in yourself. Next sign that someone is not your friend is if they have a history of mistreating you. So if they've stabbed you in the back before, or they've hurt you, or they've done something to for you to lose your trust in them, they've already shown you who they are and you need to believe them the first time. Do not give this person a second chance to mistreat you, because the second time around it may be worse than the first time around. So you may think that, this person always has my back, but, they're known to have an attitude. They're known to get into it constantly with others. The person that likes to pick fights with others. Just know that just because that person hasn't shown you their wrath, if you will, yet, doesn't mean that you will not eventually be on the receiving end. If it's in that person's heart and character to behave one way towards one person, it's only a matter of time before you're on the receiving end. So take that as a sign of caution and tread carefully with that person. All right, let me know down in the comments if I've missed anything. Have you encountered anyone like this before? If you have, how did you break ties with that person, and how were you able to move on? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.